Hello everyone, welcome to Railway Cottage Studio. I'm Karen and I'm down in my little studio today having a play with these hexagons that I bought at Vinnie's. These are hexagons done in the kind of quilt as you go method or pot holder method and done on a machine. So I picked these up at Vinnie's this afternoon for $6 for this big bag. These ones are all finished and these are cut out with the bottoms and the little bit of webbing in the middle ready to go, ready to go. So I was just thinking what I could do with them. I don't like, these are machine done, I don't like the machine stitching, but that's easily fixed. They're really big stitches and they'll come out pretty easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try stitching these into a little pouch. I've seen a pouch pop up on Instagram recently, seems to be out of Japan, and it's done with hexagons and they use the shape of the hexagons to create the pouch. So I'm just going to give it a go and see if I can figure out how to do it. So I think at the moment, where am I up to? My pouch is going to be, and then I'm going to tea dye the whole thing to try and make these borders a little less visible. Hang on, I'm a bit far over. Let me just pull you back a bit. The little border around, not so, not to stand out so much. So I think that'll work. They're all quilting cottons. They're all going to take a tea dye pretty well. And the good thing about these then is they're finished, they're lined. So if you make a pouch with these, it's lined on the inside. So I'm just joining these like you would normally join hexagons. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Just like you would normally join hexagons. So I'm just figuring out how this is going to look. So basically, the size of my pouch is this. This one goes around the corner, like that, to the back. That makes sense. That doesn't make sense. Let me try that again. Why does that do that? Yes, this way. Sorry, fold that in half that way. So this one goes around the corner. So I'm going to stitch him on here, and then that part of him will be the other side. The same here, and then the same with the bottom. It'll make sense as I go. I can imagine it in my head. I'm not explaining it very well. So I'm going to keep stitching these together. And these are so easy to stitch together because there are no papers and they've got this lovely wide border around them. So happy Friday, happy Friday. This weekend is forecast to be rainy and stormy, and we even have a tornado, for goodness sake, forecast just north of us here in Bundaberg. So again, we have something that the locals here call the Bundy Dome, which means that all forecast storms and rain tend to go around or over us. So I'll leave it when I see it. But there is certainly some pretty full-on weather predicted, which means I am going to be tucked up in my studio with my aircon on all weekend, which I'm so excited about because it's been a minute since I've been able to do that. So if you've never stitched, so I'm popped out of, let me just pull you back a bit, so I'm just a bit far out from where I'm standing. I don't want to lean. If you've never stitched hexagons together, you simply put them face to face, find your edges, and then do a whip stitch. It's very secure, it's very fast. I'm using a crochet cotton for this and quite a big needle. I was doing a little bit of EPP the other night. I had, half an hour, and I'd watched Rachel and Sarah's videos and got motivated and thought, oh, I'll come down and I'm not going to do hexagons for my Roxy's Journal of Stitchery for this week's prompt because I've got hexagons. I'll do something different. So I pulled out some of this shape. They're called apple core EPP pieces. I reckon that took me an hour and a half and I nearly lost the will to live. So word to the wise, if you are going to do apple core EPP, Google it first, go onto YouTube and find the sneaky way to do it, because I just tried to wing it and it was absolutely horrendous. It was horrible. I hated every minute of it. So it wasn't very satisfying, but apparently I was talking to Mum tonight and she said, oh no, there's a trick. But, a bit late for me. So I will use those, and that may be all I make to go on this week's prompt. I'm actually going to, you can see I've kind of sewn along the middle here. So that's going to fold. I'm just going to pin so I can actually get a bit of an idea of how this is going to work. That's going to go there. this guy is going to be like that. Oh my god, that pin does not work. This guy's going to be like that. Now the bottom, let me just stick my needle into there as well. The bottom will basically be, and again these are bright and that's very white and contrasty for me, but I'm going to tea dye. So the bottom will basically be that. So it'll kind of go up and join the other side, if that makes sense. And the same with that and that. So that'll be the bottom of my pouch. The bottom of my pouch, like that. Trust me, I have a plan. Does that make sense? So that's the shape of my pouch. There you go, that works. So then I'm going to repeat that on the other side. I might actually just sew these three together first and then put them on. That might help. So in lieu of that, I'm going to go back here and sew this middle bit so it's not all floppy. And again, I'm using a strong quilting cotton, crochet cotton, because I'm going to make a pouch out of this. So this is the lining done as well, which is awesome, because that means when you're done, you're done. So I'm just going to reuse, actually I'll get a new bit. Oh, funny how you can find a bit of energy when then some time opens up in front of you to do something you love. Let's hop on there. So when I grabbed this bag of somebody else's unfinished project at Vinnie's today, I was thinking of Christmas gifts. I make gifts for my colleagues at work. So I was thinking this would be a great way. But now that I've started, I've had a bit of a vision that I could create this little pouch and then slow stitch all over it. I mean, why not make more? I've just made an absolute mess of that, so I'm going to do that again because you will see the inside of this pouch. I'm just going to go around twice, not 3 times, and take a little bit more time to pull it down. That's better. That's a bit better. So again, if you've never stitched hexagons together before, you just fold them back. It's one of the easiest things to do. And these are a pleasure because the fabrics are soft and lovely. Just like this. I'm just going to start on the inside. Are we down? Are we zoomed in? I'm just going to start in here so that my knot's kind of in there, if you know what I mean, between the fabrics. Just like that. And then literally whip stitch. So I thought I'd turn the camera on and have a chat. So we're coming up quickly to the end of the year. Lots and lots of people got their Christmas things underway. I've been having a bit of a think about what I'd like to do for Christmas this year. I'm trying to do just one project for Christmas. But this year is the first time that we have a little baby in the family from forever, since my youngest son Clancy, who's 17 now, was a little fella. So of course, you know, that all goes out the window. So I've got some stockings to make, and but my slow stitch project for this year I think is going to be an angel. So I thought I might make an angel for myself, and then I thought I'd make an angel for my daughter and her family's first Christmas all together, and then that can be their Christmas angel. So I haven't yet in my mind haven't made the leap to what that looks like. So I'm just percolating at the moment, some ideas. But it's definitely going to be slow stitched and made with some beautiful fabrics. Lots of reds for me at Christmas. So that's where my brain's working in the background while I'm doing this kind of very simple meditative stitch. So I'm thinking of, yeah, something that can be, you know, a little long-term angel for the top of their tree. So that's my next plan that I have to make. So I'll probably make one for myself as a dummy room, and then make one for Tilly. I quite like the way this stitching looks on here, the whip stitch. It's very satisfying. So Just make sure you're all the way in. That's it. Okay, that's it. So I think most of the sports for the weekend here have been cancelled because of all the lightning and thunder. They have to call that pretty early when you're regional because a lot of people travel, you know, on weekends from far away to come and participate into club sports and things. All right, so that's that little leg on. Let's just show you what that looks like. So now I'm just going to tie that off with a knot. And again, this cotton that I'm using is quite a, it's not silky at all. So when you tie a knot in it, it's really good. It stays put. And it is a bit of a lump there, but I'll go back later and tuck that in if I need to. Not that fussed. Okay. So let's have a look. Where am I? 1, 2, they're done. So now I'm going to stitch these 2 together, and that one, and that one. It's very hard to get it all going at once. You kind of stop and start a bit. It's like one of those things that pops up on Facebook and says only a genius can get around in one line. But it's satisfying doing hexagons because, and see, I didn't do what I said I was going to do there, so I'm going to redo that. Let's do that. I meant to put my knot between the fabrics. Okay. As I've been sitting here sewing, or standing here sewing tonight, I've been looking at the beautiful swan that I bought today from Vinnie's, which is a children's swan seesawy toy thing. It's huge, like it's massive. I thought I might put it in my sewing room, but you know, the reality is it doesn't fit. So I'm going to put it on my veranda with a big Boston fern in it. I think that'll look gorgeous. I'm sure somebody's Poppy built it with his hands for some beloved child. So it's going to find a new home on my veranda. I think I've managed to just pack my studio to the rafters. So this is coming along really well. When I first looked at these, I thought, oh, I don't like the border, but I think if I take the stitching out and tea-dye, it'll all just become a lot more unified, and the borders, which at the moment are very they contrast a great deal, won't contrast so much. And you can see that whoever has started this has done some by hand, but obviously has moved on to a machine at some point. There we go. Nearly there. I see Rachel has created so many beautiful things for Christmas. She's giving me creator's envy. She's been working away like a real little busy bee in her studio in Italy. If you haven't had a look, have a look at her Rachel Roxy Creations YouTube. She's got some beautiful Christmas journals, some no-sew ones, as well as some beautiful Christmas themed with her beautiful fabrics journal covers and things. So lots of ideas happening over there. Something about a cold Christmas, isn't there? Okay, so those ones are stitched on, and you can see here this has been done by hand. She's done this by hand, and this one, but then we've moved on to a machine. Yeah, who knows? So I'm going to pull this stitching out. I don't think it's stitched any other way, so I'll figure that out. I might just do a big stitch around all of them, or I might do a really quick little hemming sort of stitch, so that I don't want to emphasize the border. It doesn't excite me very much. Looks nice on the back, hey? Okay, let's go here. Oh, I did it again. Seriously, Karen, pay attention. One job. And you can see how good it is when you do use a quilt as you go method for something, or, you know, pot holder method that quick, because the inside is also done. Done. So if I do decide to do some slow stitching on these, I have layers, so I can sew into the layer and you won't see the stitching on the back, which is even better. So let's see if I can actually do that this time. I'm going to tuck that in there. There we go. You can see it's very easy just to stitch along. And if you're a really good stitcher, you could use a small needle and probably make these invisible, but I quite like the big stitch, and I like the stability that it gives. It makes it feel very strong. So this could be my Christmas presents for my friends, for my colleagues, I mean, or it may not. It may be something that I move in a different direction with, but it's really good, easy Friday night stitching to get my head back into it after having basically 2 weeks out and then doing a really frustrating EPP exercise. So where are you tonight? Are you sewing? Have you managed to squeeze some time for something creative this weekend? Are you listening to a podcast and stitching away happily? So let me just see where I am now before I turn that off, cut that off. Okay. So again, that's the top. These are going to be the bottoms. So that's the edge. I don't need to keep going. I'm just going to do that so I know that that's the edge, so I don't just keep randomly joining on more, or it'll just be the world's widest pouch. Okay, so that's that. And then these ones are going to be the bottom, so I need 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So again, I'm going to do this and this, then I'm going to sew these 3 together separately and then put them on. What did I just do? There we go. There we go. Made myself a knot. Without tying it, so that's fairly important. Let's try it again. So my husband will be disappointed. He normally he's the manager and assistant coach of a local rugby team, local Waves Falcons, and I don't think they'll be playing tomorrow because of a big storm, so he'll be very disappointed. That's his little thing that fills his bucket, just like this fills my bucket. So we try to make sure that we each have access to the things we need to keep us sane, hey, when you work so much. Alright, so now I'm doing these guys back along here. So I do find with this, it's better if you start in the where it's already joined and work out. That way, just in case you do, you know, end up with a little bit of an over or an under, you can hide it a lot better if it's at the edge of the work rather than right in the middle, and kind of push it out the bottom. So I'm looking at some of the colours in here thinking, oh, those colours are things I'd struggle with, but I quite like having fabric I don't like that is bright, and it works as something called a kicker, and it just gives your work a whole different kind of light, and it kicks other colours into the fore and to the back. And so I'm looking at some of these colours. Orange in particular, I'm not an orange fan at all. But I do use orange because orange is really effective as part of a design. but also I'm going to tea dye these fabrics all down. So I am going to use a few less tea bags than I did last time. I actually got some sort of ultra strong tea. I didn't even look, I just got what was on special. And my tea dye was really dark. I had to rinse some of it out. So I will be putting fewer in and won't leave it in as long, because you can always do another round. Go through there. See, when I have to push through layers like this, my thumb is still so sore. So that's nearly a year now since I had that injury. So once you get to 50, things just don't heal, do they? Particularly tendons and things. Okay, let's tie a knot. And that really hard pull hurts. So just bugger that up then. Let's see. Right, I've got a bit of a lump there, but that's all right. Just going to do that. Look, what will happen? Make sure that's at the bottom of the pouch. Okay, well these bits are nearly together. I had to put this one in. I very rarely use all small size patterns, and I couldn't work out. I put a few together to start with and I couldn't think, why don't I like this? And it's because they were all small patterns. So I've had to pull out a few of the larger patterns, even though they're not very big. And immediately I'm happier. Immediately I'm happier. All right, so this is the last of this bit. So I think I need to make two like this, and then I'll join them rather than have some big, you know, bulky thing that I'm trying to work with. Because you start stitching the wrong hexagons together. Put that in there. And then here it goes. Isn't that a satisfying sound? Are you ready? I'll do it again. It's so quiet. It's lovely. I don't know what it is. I think in the last 4 days, we normally have, I think we have about 6 or 7 trains a day. And of those, I think 3 are passenger trains and the rest are freight trains. And a couple of the freight trains, the diesel trains in particular, are noisy. But going past the house probably takes 12 to 15 seconds for them. So it's really nothing. You really don't notice. The last couple of days, I think Jeff and I counted one day, there were over 20 trains going north. So what is happening up north that all of these freight trains are heading north? There's a couple of big army bases up there. Who knows? Is it for the mining? Something going on in mining? I don't know, but it's highly unusual. It doesn't suit me at all. Oops. Ah, come on. I hate it when that doesn't work. Just stick my needle in it. The thing about this cotton, it's good to use because it doesn't move, you know, but it also, once you get a knot, it tends to stay. There you go, I saved it. So I think I might finish this one and leave you there. I might go off and keep sewing, and I'll come back when I have the pieces ready to put together. I'll show you first what I'm going to do. I wonder who made these and where she is in Bundaberg. She knows I'm making little pouches out of her abandoned hexies. Or whether she's still with us, or whether this is someone's project from a deceased estate, or because it literally looks like Mum and I were talking earlier as well, that my grandmother literally was mid crocheting or mid row when she died suddenly, and it looks like that because this one is literally half done. Literally, she got to here, and then it's finished. So I wonder what happened to her. All right, so let me show you how it works. So that's going to go there. These are going to go along here, not like that, like that. Let me just pin them again so we can see. Let's go like that. So corner to corner, that's like that. Just like that. And then there'll be 2 more at the side. Gee, that's green, isn't it? Oh, I love it. That one is like that. But it's also going to go around the corner. So it's actually like that. That makes sense. Get in there, yeah, so like that. Can you see it yet? And that is like the other side. Here, other way. And then when these double under is where they'll join to the same thing on the other side. Oh, I'm crooked, there I am. And then for the top, what I had thought was, so if you can imagine that the other side exists, which it doesn't, but just imagine the other side exists. So these are attached on the other side. So then when it's open, this edge will look like that. But then we're going to go a little bit taller. Hang on, we're off screen. Let me zoom out a little bit. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. This is going to go up here. So this is the flap. Can you see my flap? So when my flap turns over, it will turn over either, I don't know how I get it to do that, but either like, it'll have to be, won't it? So it'll turn over like this, and this will be here, and that will be there, and that will be there, and that will be there. So you've got to use your imagination at the moment, but that's how my pouch will work. You see? It's obvious, isn't it? That's the plan. So let's see how that works. But I can see now I need these to fold in the middle. I think it'll work. I'll just sew a line along there to give it somewhere to fold. So I'm going to stitch those as one. I'm going to stitch another one exactly like this, but like that, and stitch these on. And I'm going to stitch the bottom on its own, just so I've got pieces and I don't have to, because I've done things with hexagons before, I've literally sewn the wrong things together and have to unpick. So thanks so much for watching me, if you're still with me, and I will come back to you when I hopefully have managed to put this together. So you can see how that will look great. Hey, tea-dyed, and then imagine some stitching over the top. It kind of just looks like a piece of quilting. Well, actually it looks exactly like a piece of quilting. So that was a bargain for $6. Even if I don't obviously complete the ones that aren't, I still ended up with like, I think about 40 of those. So I'm very happy with that. So thanks for popping in, and I'll see you again.